Take a moment.
I'm gonna, we can breathe and we'll start that way. And then I'm gonna do a little reading from Intuition and Soul Guidance for Life's Decisions. Diamata wrote this, but we can start with just kind of calming our breath, some of the inner dialogue by taking deep belly breath. Just aligning with each other, just enjoying that big burst of oxygen throughout our body. You can stay in that space if you feel to do that while I read a little bit. A lot of us are in the midst of making some decisions, so I thought I would pick that as a topic. Do not be timid. Do not be afraid to make decisions. Some people are so timid about deciding that they never act with resolve and determination. Indecisiveness is a great blight on the character. It is really much better to make some decision than take no action at all, because even if you decide wrongly, you will learn by it and will have gained mental strength by trying. If you remain passive, the only thing you will learn is that you are a powerless victim of circumstances. Instead, have the courage to face your challenges with decisiveness. So when faced with a decision, what you should do is simply this: pray. Try to feel an inner attunement. If you don't feel it, meditate for a few moments or for much time as you have available from the center of calmness, then make your decision. Do not sit and wait for some tremendous message to come to you written in lightning. So you can just think of the power of your breath and that space it creates, so that we're not having to make all of these decisions on our own. And there's so much great power in that. Let's take one more nice big breath together. You can all let it out. Feel your whole body relax. Om. Peace. And so it is.
Thanks, Terry. Always nice when things get written in lightning, though. Our message was written in lava, sure. Actually.
Either way, it's fine.
Lightning or lava. All right. Well, welcome everyone. We have a couple things planned today, and otherwise just a little chance to connect. We have our friend David Kahn coming. He is our landscape architect, and he's been working on the plan a fair bit last several weeks. So as you know, we're in this process with the final development plan, where we've got it now, we have more schematic plans in place now. Now we have to get real specific on everything. Getting a little bit of feedback from somewhere. Oh, there it goes. I got it. Okay. So David will be here in about 5 minutes. And until then, I'll give you a little bit of an update. Working on lots of different things. We closed on all the parcels, as you all know by now. So we kind of control our destiny now. And we've got a work day coming up this Saturday, when it's be our first work day when we actually have access to all of the land. So that's kind of cool. We're going to start taking some fences down. We're going to work on the Temple of Trees and give it an upgrade for this summer. And yeah, it's going along really well. One thing I'll mention briefly is that because we've talked a lot about the cost of the houses and our desire to keep them in the accessible and affordable category, and just how hard it is to do in this context. So we were glad to find out about this Colorado Proposition 123. Some of you may have heard about it, but basically they're throwing a whole bunch of money at housing affordability, and especially they have a lot of funding for what they call missing middle housing. And this is basically the other thing they call it is workforce housing. So somebody who has a normal job, hasn't inherited or earned a lot of money in their life, just has a working job, can afford housing. And so they're actually making quite a bit of programs and money available so you can get more of your housing into that category. So our consultant, we hired him a year ago, and he did a fair little bit of work with us, and only recently has really dove into Proposition 123. And it's, as you can imagine, government program, hundreds of millions of dollars, very, very complicated, but he's a smart guy and he says he can help us out. So that's as much as we know so far, but he's sending me a synopsis of all our options soon. And anyway, it could be something that really makes Polestar more accessible to more people. So we're kind of excited about that. And what else on the update level? Yeah, we're just a big part our engineers have been working on is the grading. So when you do a project like this, every square inch has to be at a certain height and a certain slope, and it is very intensive. Okay, and we have David Kahn. All right. And so they're working hard on that, and we're working real hard with the offsite construction company. North Star is their name, and working our way through all the different multifamily plans to sort of fine tune them. And it's a long conversation. And I was telling someone, when you're a general contractor, it's kind of a luxury to have one subcontractor that takes up so many categories, because these guys do the framing, the insulation, the siding, the wiring, the plumbing, the tile, the sheetrock. I learned actually this week that they only prime paint the walls, so they leave the finish coat of paint. That's kind of cool in a way. We can put that much sort of individuality into our units. Thought that was kind of neat. So, David, welcome. There he is. All right. All right. We have 2 people in Hawaii and 1 person from Mexico. They're all on the beach. That is, yeah. So, I want to introduce David. We hired his firm, which is Sun Studios. His partner in crime is Michael Tavel, who's a wonderful architect out of Denver, and their office is in Denver. And they did some really great early work on Polestar and have done some amazing projects over the years. One of which is Geos. If you want to Google it up, you can read about it. It's near Denver and has a lot of the same design parameters that we've been working with at Polestar. So I'm going to say, just by way of introducing David, he did a preliminary plan for us. Then our land planners basically dumbed it down a little bit in order to just make it easy for the city to approve, which they did. We have preliminary approval, but now we have to do final approval. And this is a little bit of a juggling act because we want a beautiful and ambitious landscape and gardening plan. However, whatever we put in the plan, the city is going to make us do. So we sort of want to leave ourselves some flex in there that will get us, the city, to inspect us and approve us, but allow us more room to grow and improve everything over time. The other thing I'll mention is there's our sensibilities about private gardens. Right now, all the multifamily homes are on a lot that is just 5 feet bigger than the buildings. And we did that consciously. One, it simplified it by a lot. Two, there's a sensibility among some people that they're over taking care of the landscape or gardening. They really just don't need to do it anymore. And there's a whole sort of marketing strategy where people, sell units like that, where you basically the HOA takes care of everything, So we're kind of in the middle of this conversation because we want to encourage gardening and landscaping. We want to provide for it. We want to allow people who are rabid gardeners to, be able to do a lot of gardening. And so we basically have put smaller gardens around the community where if they want it, we have one large community garden, of course, but then we have smaller gardens around the community that it's completely up for grabs for the people who live there adjacent to those places to garden and get very proactively involved in their local landscape. And in the event that doesn't happen, we have a method where we can more or less simply take care of them, keeping them green and attractive. But anyway, I'll let David jump in here. And why don't you just say hello, David? I'm going to give you the right to screen share too, if you want to bring up a drawing or two.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. I don't have anything prepared quite yet, but I can grab something if that would help. But I just want to say, I'm so honored and pleased to be working with you. I have such respect for the plan that you've created and the type of community that you're creating. It's just remarkable and it's so thoughtful. I really just think it's very special what you're doing, and the interaction that has been described to me in terms of loving the landscape, taking care of the landscape, and wanting to be around beauty and food. I just think it's just absolutely terrific. One of the things that's really great about your plan for your neighborhood is that it breaks down into these lovely little pocket neighborhoods where 10 or 12 or 16 homes focus on a shared space. And what we've done in the plan is to have, as Michael mentioned, like a centralized community garden in each of these sub neighborhoods, and also like a well-placed centralized gathering area that's connected to the community garden. And then we have other areas that are just going to be labeled in our plan, kind of a flexible topic called edible landscapes. And it's quite substantial area. And we're going to give a list of plants to the city, such as raspberries and strawberries and cooking herbs and medicinal herbs and currants and, elderberries and all kinds of things like that, that residents can then finish these gardens that are designated as edible landscape. And so that allows for participation and individualization depending upon who's working on it in that space. And it also helps, I think, to allow you to stage the implementation of these areas. You don't have to build them all at once as we would if we had designated specific plants to all those locations. This really puts the ball in the residents' court and allows the residents to participate and choose the type of edible landscape that they would like to have in their environment. So those are sort of the main constituent parts of each of these little sub neighborhoods. They often have like a little lawn area too that can be used for a gathering space. And then in the other areas that are not community garden or edible landscape or gathering spaces, we have a nice variety of native drought, mostly native, but otherwise flowering, drought tolerant, lowish maintenance shrubs, perennials, and ornamental grasses that will constitute the rest of the grounds, you know, the planting areas that are adjacent to walkways, and that are like spaces between the homes and the street, for example, and things like that. I'm kind of inheriting a plan that JR, the engineering firm, did for all the street trees and the walkways. And I'm just adopting that as is and really focusing on the edible landscape spaces, community garden spaces, and then the rest of the planting areas that are you know, the perennials and ornamental grasses.
David, can you talk about the sort of micro yards space that are adjacent to people's and how you're handling that?
Sure. Let me see if I can pull one of those up.
That'd be nice, actually.
Yeah, let me just 1 second. Oops.
A little bit, the art of this is to allow ourselves the options to have a really flourishing, dynamic garden, but to also have something we can sustain and maintain over time, because, you know, interest will ebb and flow. And so at the times when it's ebbing, you know, the HOA has to sort of take care of everything. And we want to keep that reasonable and simple.
Right. So another thing that what we talked about was that in an environment like this, oftentimes people have yards that they take care of in many communities and many neighborhoods. But because the lot lines are 5 feet outside of the building footprint, we kind of have a different situation. And so in order to give a sense, in order to give a sense of kind of enfranchisement to residents, we are using kind of like a shrub border. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but I'm kind of circling around these C2 units. So a shrub border that wraps around and creates kind of a semi-private space for the residents. So you can spill out of the patio space and utilize this area in different ways. And we're not going to specify exactly what each one needs to be, but again, we're going to have a list for the city of possibilities, and that would include kind of like a paved patio, a flagstone patio, or a gravel patio, or a little grassy area, or it could be like a little kitchen garden or a little you know, flower garden, a thing like that, so that people can individualize these little spaces in front of the homes. And you know, they're about 8 by 10 foot roughly. Some of them are a little bit bigger, like 15 feet by 8 feet. Some are kind of small. You know, like a space like this, you know, might lend itself to being a little garden, or it could be a little patio where you could put a couple chairs and a little table out or something like that. But the idea is that these little spaces are finished by the owners, you know, by the residents in these little areas. Here's an example of one of those little pocket neighborhoods with a community garden with edible landscape that wraps around the space and a little gathering space that could have tables and chairs or movable furniture and things like that. Here's another example of these little pocket neighborhoods with a little patio common area here, a couple different lime green community garden spaces, and then the edible landscape areas that wrap around the perimeter. Here's another little pocket neighborhood here with a couple of community garden spaces. Common gathering area here, edible landscape areas here, and then surrounding these little lawn areas. So a little lawn area that sort of speaks to these houses, and another little lawn area that could be used by these folks, that is then ringed by the edible landscape areas. I can also share another drawing that has the.
Can I ask a question, David?
Sure.
Just so that I understand, the sort of brownish areas are lawn, and the crosshatches are edible trees or bushes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, for example, in this case, this is a front yard, so it could be lawn, or it could be, any of those other materials. This kind of olive green is the edible landscape. It's
Wait, go slower with your cursor, because it, yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so
What did you mean? Yeah.
This olive green color here, and then also wrapping around this common area here would be the edible landscape. It's a little, I apologize, it's a little bit confusing, because what
That's
you can
okay.
see in this drawing is the JR engineering landscape drawings with my colored pencil on top of it. And I kind of reshaped some of the spaces, but you can see their drawing underneath it, which is a bit confusing. That's why there are these strange, changes. This is all meant to be the same material. It's just that JR had these other shapes in here that I
Okay.
revising, so to speak. You can, and then there's some areas that would be lawn areas, like right here, like in this area where there's the handicap parking and there's a bike rack, and it's kind of the entrance to a major part of the site from the parking area. There's a couple grassy areas here just for flexibility. If you need a little extra room for things coming and going, loading, unloading, things like that. There are some lawn areas that are designated, and it's a type of low water drought tolerant sod that JR is specifying. I've actually redone these areas based upon a conversation that Michael and Jyoti and the folks at JR and I had. This is kind of the heart of the neighborhood through here, with, again, you can see JR's square shaped community garden, but then I've kind of drawn this other shape.
Wait, you know what, David? I don't think we're seeing what you're seeing. We are seeing the C2s.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Thanks for clarifying.
I'm not sure why.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, there we go. Yep. There's
there's the community garden, and this is the JR, the square that they've drawn. And so I just, in consultation with Michael, we came up with a little bit more fluid border of edible landscape that surrounds the community garden, with a pathway system that goes through it and a gathering space center.
nice.
And then down here by the community building, there's some nice spaces. This community garden kind of speaks to the top lot and the sort of gazebo. And then in this area where there's, a bike rack and pickleball and a picnic area, I did designate a kind of spillover lawn space that could be used for different purposes. And then wrapping around this area is kind of like a perennial flower and ornamental grass bed, and then shrubs that wrap around. And then on the backside of the community building, there's a little walkway that connects these different doors and the staircase that goes up to the upper floor of the community building. And then there's another door here. And there's a sprinkling of little lawn areas in this little passageway through here. And then in the group home area, pretty nice. There's kind of a patio outside of these doorways and a little lawn area surrounded by shrubs that give it some privacy and some trees and shade. And the little pathway that goes back to another patio space that would be connected to the preschool play area through a gate.
David, I had a question. This is Mike. I assume there's an irrigation plan and water source for each of the little pocket gardens as well as the large garden?
Yeah.
I was gonna speak to that and just remind everybody that as part of our purchase of Happy Heart Farm, is there feedback? Am I creating feedback by talking? Anybody getting that? Okay. As part of the purchase of Happy Heart Farm, we bought a half share in the Pleasant Valley Water and Canal Company. And that is 19.5 acre feet per season. And the idea, and we have an irrigation engineer, and the idea is we're going to distribute that ditch water across all the properties. And I'll just mention, because it's a big deal, water rights are a huge deal, of course, everywhere, and in Colorado especially. And we think that was a very smart move to get that, and we want to encourage and promote, growing food and just natural beauty as well. And we have not been assessed yet for water fees on these properties. And there's been kind of a preliminary assessment. The fact that we're doing our own irrigation gives us a big discount. So that's still being teased out. I just wanted to mention that to everybody because it's one of those looming things. We know it's a big number and we know we're going to get a discount, but we don't know what that is yet. So anyway, just wanted to mention all that. But the idea, to answer your question, Mike, is yes. Now the ditch is on a schedule, so it's probably going to be every other day that we can water, but we got to get in tune with their realities of how we pump out of the ditch. So anyway, just wanted to interject that in there. So go ahead, David.
Well, if anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. This is kind of a.
I would have a question.
Yes.
So with the little clusters, we love this idea. This is so beautiful. And with the little gardens, is it when you have a cluster and you have a little garden area for that cluster, then you just work together with the people who live in that cluster to decide what's going to happen there, or how is that decided?
That is the idea. The community will actually own the land, but our intention is to let it be managed collaboratively, cooperatively by the people who live adjacent to it. And if they don't have energy for it, then that's a different conversation. Then we've got to do something with it to keep it, plant cover crops and keep it in good stead and visually nice.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, we did talk about the idea that since it is agricultural, that in the short run, a cover crop could be used, for example, like clover or vetch or some other nitrogen fixing plant that could be tilled in and enrich the soil while you're waiting to actually implement the community garden spaces.
David,
Mhm.
you may already have this covered, but in this area, I know that the city arborists in each of the cities have been working together on a I'm trying to think what it's called. It's kind of like an advisory plan about what both what trees are desirable and what trees to avoid. The trees to avoid are what I know about it include like things that are under attack, like by the ember ash borer and things like that, right? As well as I know that they've also, because of past experiences over the years, like going all the way back to Dutch elm disease and whatever, right? That they're trying to prevent too much density of certain kinds of trees in different neighborhoods so that pathogens just don't blow through cities, right? So if you haven't, you might want to consult like the Fort Collins City Arborist or somebody like that to get those lists,
Right. Yeah, JR actually prepared the plan with all the trees. And I'm not actually altering it because it just keeps it more simple to not change it. And they have a table in the plan in the FDP that breaks down the percentage of trees of each type that they're using in order to fulfill a diversity for the reasons that you were mentioning.
Great, as long as it's covered. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also got a preliminary bid from Fort Collins Nursery for the preliminary landscape plan. And I said, look, you see anything doesn't make sense to you, let us know. They did have one thing, and I forgot to tell you this, David. There was one tree they don't recommend.
Box elder?
And what was it?
Is it the box elder?
I don't think so. No,
Uh-oh.
no. I think it was a maple.
Okay.
It might have been, I'll have to find out. But anyway, that would be, I meant to follow up on that. So I'm glad we tripped over that here today. And then
Yeah.
could you go,
The
back
box
to
elder, the box
Yeah.
elder is a kind of a maple. It's a native, but it's really messy and kind of brittle. And I noticed that JR did list a few of them in the plan, so that might be the one. We could just change it for a different tree that's
Let's
bit-
get them out of there. Yes. Can
Yeah.
you go back to the preschool and elder housing? Because Susan, I wanted you to get your eyeballs on this, and see if it's all making sense to you. We've got that fenced area now. And then how do you envision that transition between the outdoor transition between the elder living and the outdoor play area for the kids?
Well, as I did, David said that there is a gate that goes from that little patio right there to the playground. And so that's enough separation to keep the children contained and elders being able to come in that area if they wanted to. And I think there's a solarium that we have in the building right at that point of that patio. So, and that's a doorway between the preschool and that solarium exists as well on the plans. So it keeps it all within licensing requirements, and the separation of the elders from the preschoolers, during the time that they're working, and the elders that want to come in can do so, but the children wouldn't be having access to the outside of their own area.
Got it. And what do you envision that fence like a major privacy fence? That would be like a solid fence of some height.
I think the discussion is around how much privacy do you want for the elders and the children at that point? Or do you want to be able to see into that area? You know, if the elders want to sit on the porch and watch the children and not actually be in there with them.
Good point.
And
Mhm.
we do have another solarium at the other end of the building, one where it looks like there's a large patio and outdoor area right there. There's another solarium down there where the elders can choose to have privacy and quiet and maybe not want to partake. But we particularly like they could join in with the preschoolers down at this other end if they chose.
Okay, I like that. Okay, sounds good.
I love this. I just think this is the coolest thing. This it's just wonderful. You know?
Oh, thanks. We do too. That's one of the prime reasons I think we all got on board with it right away is the elders have the opportunity to be with the preschoolers is wonderful for both groups.
David's Carol asked about shade trees.
Yeah, there are, I'd have to go to the JR plans because I haven't memorized what all these trees are. But they've got a whole list of shade trees that they're using. It's really not part of what I'm working on, to tell you the truth.
Oh, okay.
Already
Right.
been done. And like I said, I just kind of made a decision to not mess with their work because they thought it all through.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm working with Jyoti on the drafting. So together we wanted to try to simplify our task.
Mhm.
The simplification is to not change the stuff that JR did.
And David, just a reminder that we have all those fir trees.
Yes.
I actually don't know what species they are. I had a couple people who knew more than me and they didn't know. But we definitely want to find homes for as many of them as would make sense because we can move them.
I mean, I think that this whole area on the perimeter is a great area for them. And
Okay,
then,
now that's in the 50-foot natural area habitat buffer. I don't think we'll be able to put them in there.
oh, okay. Then the other
Yeah.
alternative would be around the big detention pond. You know, we could sprinkle them in, you know, one here, one there, surrounding the entire pond, and that would help dress that area up and make it look nicer.
Right. Yeah, mature trees go a long way to softening the impact of new construction, which is so I think we could, wherever we can get them near buildings, it really softens the whole environment. So all right, any other questions for David? This just to give you a little glimpse of the process we're in. And
I'll just put in my 2 cents. I hope I'm seeing this correctly. It seems like there's not a huge preponderance of turf grass, which I would love to see, not a lot of turf grass. I love ground cover, and like Michael, you mentioned, I don't know if I understand it, like to be careful about what you say the plan is, because once you do and the town accepts it, you're beholden to it. So, I mean, I say go with ground cover. If in doubt, just say ground cover. And then is it correct? Then you can make, that can be flexible for later choices in terms of, plants or shrubs or whatever. I mean, some ground covers like the milkweeds are amazing. They grow prolifically. They don't require any care, and, birds, bees, butterflies, all that kind of stuff. So, but anything that requires like weekly maintenance or, you know, fertilizers or anything to maintain its aesthetic. I am not a big fan of that, so.
Right. Yeah, there's not a lot of big grassy areas at all. I mean, I think the only big grassy areas would be associated with the detention pond. And those are not like highly irrigated, um, you know, pristine lawn spaces. They're a bit more native. Yeah, we have very little lawn area in the plan. Again, all these gold colors are meant to represent, well, actually, I redid this area because I had earlier thought that these would perhaps be finished by the individual owners, but Michael and Ken suggested that they be planted out. So I actually have a different planting scheme for that, for those areas. But this is like a little lawn area here. And then there's a variety of little tiny lawn areas right in here. But I kind of thought this was going to be could be a busy area, and it could be nice to have a little bit of flexibility space. Like, you know, people could hang out here and use these areas. It also keeps it feeling less congested just to have something low. You know, that could always be changed to ground covers, for example, like you're saying.
Well, and I think one of the main places we need lawn is in the village center, just for play and gathering spaces.
Right.
And really, in the early years, we will not be doing that big a garden. And I do envision having more lawn there. Nothing too, you know, manicured or anything. Just more, you know, space you can, you know, set up a volleyball net, or, you know, hit a badminton thing, or sit on the lawn with your kids or whatever. And I think it's going to be an evolution to one, grow into doing more gardening, and then also understanding our needs for play space as well. I think that'll be an evolutionary thing.
Right.
All right, David, that was very helpful. Thanks for coming today. Anybody have any final questions for David?
Okay, well, I want to thank you so much. I really am honored to be working with you. I think the world of your project. I think it's wonderful. It's so special and so unique and so thoughtful, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be a wonderful place to live. So I'm really happy for you all.
Thank you, David.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for joining us today, and thanks for all the hard work. Yeah, we're really glad to have you on the project. So, all right, we'll see you soon, no doubt.
Okay, take care.
You
Bye.
too. All right.
All right. Oh. Let's see. There we go.
All right. Who else has got some thoughts or questions or comments on any topic at all in Polestar? Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, yes, I've been, in terms of the kitchen, because I intend to install an under the sink water filter in my kitchen, in the sink, and I was curious if there's gonna be a hole, you know, available for that. Like, and is it gonna be stainless steel sinks, and how much of that is up to the person who's building that unit of creating the kitchen faucet structure, so to speak?
Yes, very good question. Depending on the unit you buy, you would have a great deal of input on that. In the case, so the company we're working with, and that's part of why we chose them, they're wired for you selecting pretty much, you know, floor coverings, countertop, fixtures, light fixtures. We just found out that they don't do the painting, but we can hire them to do the painting if we want to, but that's not what they're wired for. So it might be better for us to do that. So the answer is, depending on the unit, you could definitely customize all those choices, and they have a wonderful large catalog of pick your things out. So that's all looking good. The reason I'm hedging that a little bit is because in the case of the PIC, a lot of those are going to be rentals, and will probably be a little more generic and less custom in that case. Unless somebody says, no, I want exclusive use of this unit, then we can let them customize. But so yeah.
But off the bat, are you gonna mostly have stainless steel sinks in the
Yes.
kitchen? Yeah.
Yes, that's probably the starting point, unless somebody
Because-
wants to change it. Yeah.
Yeah, because even if there isn't a hole, a lot of people use the hole from the soap dispenser or even the dishwasher vent. But even if there isn't a hole, it's really easy to drill one in stainless steel. So it's not a problem.
Right.
And then also what's
Right.
come up with a couple of people, and I would like a walk-in bathtub kind of thing, thinking about getting older, and that's one of the choices too, or is it?
I'm sure it can be. Those are much more common these days. So I haven't looked at their catalog in depth on that level, but I'm sure we can make provision. They basically will customize, and you got to deal with the cost of customization, which is fair enough. But they will do it,
And of
So-
course, thank you. One of my questions leads to another, and thinking about the flooring. We're not really interested in wall-to-wall carpeting. I don't know what people are doing, but is there a plan to be a basic like cement floor or plywood floor? Then people would opt about what to put on it, or?
No, we would have the finished floors in or mostly in, and there's a lot of choices there. And we're looking into all the, healthier products. And so like the marmoleum, if you're familiar with it, is the old style linoleum. It's very nice stuff, actually. And it's low maintenance, it lasts a long time, and vinyl, which is very popular, is like death to the environment, and outgasses. Its whole life cycle is toxic, So
Yeah, actually, what I just learned
Mhm.
about vinyl and mold, you do not want vinyl and seal it, because it's a definite possibility of having mold grow in there, and it's a
Mold
problem. So
habitat.
glad to hear that.
Wow.
Nix on vinyl.
So we are looking into a lot of these different products right now, and it's a little bit of a trick getting aligned with, the offsite construction, but some of it we could do ourselves. We could do our own flooring if we wanted to, for example. But more things we can have done offsite, the better, as far as I'm concerned. All right, who else? Questions or comments? I'll tell you briefly, it was Earth Day yesterday. And I'm sorry, in Fort Collins, the Earth Day celebration was yesterday. I think tomorrow is actually Earth Day. And it was a great event, except it was freezing cold. And we didn't get near as many people as last year, which was a little disappointing. That said, we did get a steady stream of people who, were finding out about Polestar and hearing about it. And it's, we meet a lot of like-minded people at an event like that, so it was very sweet. But the highlight of the day for me was we had put a couple Hawaiian chants together with the Unity Choir, and worked on them a little bit. And we sing them regularly, so a lot of our Polestar people knew them. And it was so snowy and miserable yesterday, I thought nobody would come, but we must have had at least 20 of us came to sing. So got up on stage and sang 2 chants, and people were into it. It was very sweet to see people. They really enjoyed it. And then Terry led a really nice meditation, and so it was just nice. I feel really good about the Fort Collins culture. It's just a lot of common values and resonance there, I think, for an endeavor like Polestar. I think we'll do really well in this environment. So that was kind of cool. Other than that, we are approaching our closing time. Trying to think if I left anything out. Oh, any of you are local, love to see you this Saturday. Hopefully we have good weather and we'll be there 9 to 4. So come any subset of that time or stay all day if you can, and it'll be a lot of fun.
I have a piece of good news. If you'd like to hear some good news.
Sure.
Yes.
So it's twofold, so or threefold. So our son, it's public now, is going to be the new general manager of the hub REI being put in at Centera or West Centera, whatever they call that, right? So
Nice.
my son and daughter are moving, and daughter-in-law, or our son and daughter-in-law are moving back to the area from Maine, and they just called us and told us that they're expecting their first.
Oh,
So that's pretty good. And on top of that, you know, we've got our existing granddaughter and we have another one on the way in mid-July. So
That's great.
so I made a prediction to Janny at Christmas this last Christmas, that we'd have 3 grandchildren by Christmas, and it's looking like that will come true.
yay.
Congratulations. Wow.
Very excited. Yeah.
That is great. And Centera, is that in Loveland?
It's what's down at the intersection of I-25 and Highway 34 that goes through Loveland on the
Okay,
interstate.
yes. Okay, very cool.
So
I
east
think
east
actually
Loveland.
Centera's actually on the
Centra's on the north side.
northeast corner, and 2534 is the development on the southeast corner, and then there's, you know, where this store's going is
Centera.
is it in Centera?
It's considered Centera as
It's
well.
it's West Centera or something like that. Yeah, which is over the interstate, but
Oh.
And you can get us a discount at REI now?
I wish. We don't get one.
we occasionally get a discount there, but
All right.
maybe we can hook up the
Yeah.
whole community. There you go.
That's great.
REI membership and you spend money there, you get your yearly bonus.
Yeah.
Been a member
It's a
there a
co-op.
long time.
Yeah. All right. Any final questions or closing comments, and we can sign off. Great to see you all
I
today.
have one
Oh,
question,
Marcia has
Michael.
a hand.
Okay, we got one question. Go ahead.
Have you decided which utilities are going to be common and which ones are going to be on general meters?
That's a very good question. Most everything is going to be on specific meters. You know, you'll have your own water bill and your own electric. In the TIC, the D10 buildings, we are looking at aggregating the hot water heating just for efficiency's sake. But they have easy ways to meter everything now. So we would look at doing our own sort of interior billing on water metering in that case. So anyway, mostly the answer is you're going to have your own bills for the utilities.
But the internet goes through the HOA.
That's true. It does.
And probably garbage pickup, things like that might go through the HOA. Although I know in my townhome now, we are on individual. So even for one person like me, I pay the same bill that my next door neighbor that might have 4 people. So that would be
Wow.
better to have the general, you know, garbage pickup or recycling pickup for that.
Right.
Because one person, I don't have enough to put out even every week, you know, it's just me. You know what I mean? But so I was just curious as to how, you know, if you've had any thought about utilities. Okay, thank you.
You bet. All right. Regarding wired Wi-Fi. Yes, you can wire your own Wi-Fi in if that's what you want to do. It is, there's provision made for that, or we can make provision for that. It's another, the basically connections brings in a hard line, and then you can wire it throughout your house if you don't want to just use routers from there. So, that is a possibility.
Michael,
All
I
right.
just super quickly give a shout out because we're always we just appreciate our volunteers so much. And yesterday it was over and above because it was so cold. You know, of course, Michael was there all day. He's the Energizer Bunny. I'm not sure how you do everything you do. And Anne was back and forth. Vina was there all day. Jim was there most of the day. He's on the call. Gail and Mike, I think both sang, and Gail was chatting with people, and Tam, who I think is not on the call, was there. Joe, did I say Joe? Joe was super helpful the whole day. So hopefully I included everybody that's here, but it just makes it so much nicer. And we had a lot of help yesterday. So thank you.
Good job putting it together, Terry.
Yeah, and Terry did it all. So thank you, Terry. Yeah, and it is a lot of fun. Everybody out there doing stuff together. I really enjoyed it. So thanks for mentioning that, Terry. Thank you. All right.
All
Well, you
right.
guys have a great rest of your Sunday, and good to see you. We'll see you again soon, we hope. And watch for updates. Take care.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.